Good evening. There are some stories that they just stick with you. Stories that make you stop and think about how close we came, how fragile this whole thing really is. Yesterday, in a federal courtroom in Florida, a man was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison. Not for what he did, but for what he tried to do. And the details of this case, they're chilling. His name is Ryan Wesley Routh. He's 58 years old, a roofer from North Carolina who moved to Hawaii. And on September 15th, 2024, he nearly changed the course of American history. Before we dive into this story, if you appreciate in-depth news coverage that doesn't just scratch the surface, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're committed to bringing you the full story, not just the headlines. All right, let's get into this. Let me take you back to that day, September 15th, 2024, Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, Florida. It's a Sunday. President Trump, then candidate Trump, is playing golf. It's what he does. It's routine. The Secret Service knows the routine, but here's what they didn't know. For nearly 12 hours, Ryan Routh had been hiding in the bushes. 12 hours, think about that. From the night before through the morning into the afternoon. Waiting, he had an SKS rifle, Chinese made, Norinco brand. He bought it for $350 in August from a former roofing competitor. First thing he did, filed off the serial number. The rifle had a scope mounted on it. There were 19 rounds loaded in the magazine, 1 round in the chamber, ready to fire. He had steel armor plates, body armor. He had a camera mounted on the fence, pointed at the 6th green, where Trump was about to play 400 yards away from where the president would be standing. And then Secret Service Special Agent Robert Furcano, patrolling 1 hole ahead, sees something, a gun barrel poking through the fence line. He fires 4 rounds. Routh drops everything and runs. But here's where this gets really disturbing. This wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. Ryan Routh had been planning this for months. Cell phone records, prosecutors pulled them all, showed that between August 18th and September 15th, Routh's phone pinged cell towers near Trump's golf club and Mar-a-Lago over and over again. He was surveilling, watching, learning the patterns. And then there's this. In April 2024, 5 months before the assassination attempt, Routh dropped off a box at someone's house, just a box. Asked them to hold on to it. Inside that box, a handwritten letter. It said, "Dear world, this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I am so sorry I failed you." He wrote his confession before he even tried. So who is Ryan Routh? Born February 18th, 1966 in Guilford County, North Carolina, worked as a roofer most of his life, moved to Hawaii at some point, and he has a criminal record that spans 4 decades, over 100 felony charges throughout his life. But here's where it gets weird. Ukraine, in 2022, after Russia's full-scale invasion, Routh became obsessed with Ukraine. He traveled to Kyiv, told people he wanted to join the army, fight for Ukraine, but the Ukrainian military didn't want him. He was in his mid-50s, no military experience. They told him he wasn't an ideal candidate, so what does he do? He stays in Kyiv anyway for 3 years, and he starts pushing this bizarre plan to recruit soldiers from Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria to fight for Ukraine. A representative from Ukraine's Foreign Legion later said Routh contacted them multiple times with what they called delusional ideas. Ukrainian officials and American volunteers who met him said he was argumentative, disconnected from reality. One woman, Chelsea Walsh, a travel nurse who met him in Ukraine, she called him a ticking time bomb. She was so concerned she reported him to the FBI in 23. Said he was a threat to others. The FBI got that report. They had his name. And then September 15th, 2024 happened anyway. The trial was, let's just say it was something. September 2025, federal court and Ryan Routh decided to represent himself. Yes, he fired his lawyers and represented himself at his own attempted assassination trial. During closing arguments, his defense, "I never fired a shot. That was it." That was his argument. Didn't matter that he had a loaded rifle pointed at the president. Didn't matter that he'd planned it for months. He never pulled the trigger. So no crime, the jury didn't buy it. They deliberated quickly, found him guilty on 5 felony counts, including attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate. And when the verdict was read, Ryan Routh tried to stab himself in the neck with a pen. Federal marshals tackled him. He survived. And that brings us to yesterday, February 4th, 2026. U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon, yes, the same judge who presided over Trump's classified documents case, she handed down the sentence: life in prison, plus 7 years. Before sentencing, she looked directly at Routh and said this: "It is clear to me, Mr. Routh, that life imprisonment is reasonable. Despite the evil, there is a sliver of good." A sliver of good, but mostly evil. That's the word she used, evil. Routh tried to make a statement, started going on about Ukraine, unrelated topics. Judge Cannon stopped him. "How much longer do you have?" She asked about 20 pages. He said 30 minutes. She cut him off. Prosecutors had argued that Routh took steps over the course of months to assassinate a major presidential candidate and has since expressed neither regret nor remorse. Attorney General Pamela Bondi said it was a direct assault against our entire democratic system. Ryan Wesley Routh will die in prison. He will never see freedom again. This was the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump in 2024. The second time someone tried to kill a presidential candidate. The second time we came close to something unspeakable. And every time I think about it, I come back to the same thought. What if that Secret Service agent hadn't been paying attention? What if he'd been looking the other way? 400 yards, 12 hours of waiting, a loaded rifle, a confession written in advance. We came very, very close. Ryan Routh made sure of that. And now he'll have the rest of his life to think about it. That's our show. Thank you for watching Capitol Prime. Good night.